And we are back. Thanks for being with us. It is time to tread boldly.
Is it?
It is.
Already?
I promise you.
I can't wait.
Good morning.
This is Tread Boldly, Leadership Lessons from the Saints, with Father Nathan Cromly.
Hey, thanks for having me back again. This morning, I want to talk with you about Simon Peter, St. Peter, right? The first pope, the leader of the 12 apostles, the rock upon whom Christ wanted to build his church. Because when you look at his life in the New Testament, he was a man on a journey, just like the rest of us, a transformation that took place progressively. He went from being a simple Galilean fisherman to becoming the Pope of the Universal Church in Rome. He went from a man full of doubts to someone with enough faith to be crucified upside down out of love for God in martyrdom. How did he get there? What were the steps along the path of his journey? One thing that's particularly striking about the life of Peter is that his journey was progressive. Whereas St. Paul was knocked down to the ground by the light of Christ and given such an experience of Jesus that even though he never met him while in his ministry on earth, his meeting with the resurrected Jesus on the road to Damascus filled him with such a sense of the Spirit that he spread the gospel all throughout the Mediterranean basin. With Peter, it wasn't quite the same. At least 3 different times, Jesus called him before he finally definitively left everything and followed him. The first call came when he met Jesus when he was with John the Baptist on the other side of the Jordan. Again, when Jesus called to him from the shores where he was casting his nets with Andrew. And then finally, when Jesus fills his boat in the Gospel of Luke with enough fish to sink the ship. It was only then that Simon Peter definitively left everything and never went back to fishing again. And when you look at his life, you see these different stages that he went through as he progressively surrendered his life to Jesus Christ. I mean, it all started with a question. What if, in fact, what John the Baptist was teaching was actually true? He had to open himself to the possibility that, in fact, the Messiah had come. Remember when Andrew, his brother, introduced Peter to Jesus in John chapter 1, he literally says, "We have found the Messiah." Right? So it's not even a question of who Jesus is. If Andrew is speaking the truth, then this man is the Messiah, the long-awaited one of Israel, who would come to save the world and save Israel and bless all the nations through Israel. This was the consummation of God's promise that he had made to Abraham all those years ago. And imagine if that was actually true, right? What would your life look like if you really believed that Jesus Christ was the Son of God come in the flesh to redeem the world? I think the big problem with us today isn't so much that God hasn't given us an answer, it's that we haven't given him a response. The answer has been given to us. Jesus is there in front of us in every tabernacle of every Catholic church in the world, present in the power of every priest to forgive sins. The redemption has taken place and is now the power of the redemption is being spread out over the whole world. What are you going to do about it? Why is it so hard for us to find Christians engaged as if the faith was real? And I think it's not so much because the faith is so difficult. I think it's that it's so powerful. If in fact the faith is true, then our lives can't remain the same. And in the life of Simon Peter, Jesus takes the time to demonstrate this to Peter. After he initially meets him on the other side of the Jordan, he would have then gone back with Jesus to the wedding feast at Cana. He would have seen his glory being shown before he returned with Jesus to Capernaum. And we know from the other Gospels that after the wedding feast of Cana and before Jesus fills Simon Peter's boat with fish, there are many signs and healings that Jesus performs that Peter was able to see. What was happening? Jesus was demonstrating to Simon Peter and to so many other people that in fact what he was saying was true, that he was the one sent by God. Remember when the disciples of John the Baptist come to see Jesus and they ask him, "Are you the one who is to come or should we wait for another?" And Jesus responds to them, "Go and tell John what you see and hear. The lame are walking, lepers are cleansed, the blind have sight, the deaf are hearing." All those things were shown to Simon Peter as well. And Peter was willing to follow. When he was casting his nets with Andrew and Jesus called him by the side of the Sea of Galilee, Peter left his nets and followed him. He saw with his own eyes and heard with his own ears the power of Jesus. It's a challenge for us today. There are so many miracles, so many stories of the saints that demonstrate the power of Jesus. Where are you with your response? What would it take to convince you to give your life to Christ wholeheartedly? I think we can ask Simon Peter to intercede for us, that we have the courage to follow the truth like he did.
Wow, he is so inspiring and uplifting.